It's day 3 of the 2016-17 Tour de Ski, and we've moved from Valmoster in Switzerland to Oberstdorf in Germany, a venue that's hosted the World Championships on 2 occasions, and on both occasions we've seen some thrilling racing. We're expecting nothing less here today. Skiathlon is the name of the game today, where they combine the traditional classic style with that of the contemporary freestyle. And the distances are slightly shorter. Now that is fairly crucial, and it brings all those 15k specialists into play.
It certainly does. Here's the journey, the 2.5 kilometer track for Classic. It's slightly more hilly with a total climb of 376 meters on this journey of Classic, followed by a very similar course, which is the freestyle track, and that is a climb of 348, making a total climb today of 724 meters, and that's quite a tough day on day 3 of the Tour de Ski. I think we might see some pulling out during this race.
Well, I'm trying to think of a peak in the UK that's around that height. Ben Leddy, I think, is a little bit higher than that, just maybe over the 800 mark. But it's a fairly substantial climb, whatever the case. Their start positions obviously determined by their position in the Tour de Ski. You might have picked up on Andrew Musgrave, who starts with lucky number 7. What a tour he's had so far. I know we've only had two stages, Mike, but he looked great in the sprint, going out in the semi-final stage. And a very, very bold race in the 10k in Valmoster, double poling where everyone else was doing classic style. He did remarkably well, and actually of all those who decided to double pole, he was the best.
He was, and he was only 17 seconds behind. I think by double poling he bought himself that opportunity. It could have gone the other way, but he's that strong now in his upper body, and actually much better in classic technique. We'll see today. He won't be able to double pole it today, I'm quite sure.
Well, we'll wait and see how tired his arms are. If it comes to a sprint, that could be crucial. See what he's got left in the arms. He's only had 48 hours to recover. The man wearing the red bib is, of course, Guy Ustiagov, who leads the Tour standings, having won both phases so far. He's only 5th in the World Cup rankings, but with every win he's moving up. Here's the man who leads the World Cup standings, Martin Jonsrud Sundby, looking to claim the overall for the 3rd year, having had one of his titles taken away. Alex Harvey, he's up to 3rd. Great move from him. 6th and 8th in the 2 races so far. Is today going to be his day? Andrei Larkov, very, very strong in the 10k in Valmoster. The 27-year-old certainly needs to be watched today. He could do some damage. There's Andrew Musgrave, just to the right of Emil Iversen of Norway. Iversen comes from Mallorca, 3 wins in his career. Can he make it 4 today? The conditions are perfect. It's a 2.5 kilometer loop. So we've got 59 competitors left. 20 have withdrawn since the 2nd stage in Valmoster. All the sprinters are long gone. Let's see who comes out on top today. Sundby will want to get a good position, and he goes off very, very hard. Sandwiched between the 2 Russians. On the near side, number 5, that's Emil Iversen, 3rd in the World Cup rankings. He looked good in the sprint, dropped a little in the 10k in Valmoster, but certainly a man to watch out for. Now, Mike, if you look back over the last 3 skiathlons, which is this combination of classic and freestyle, the same man has won all 3, Martin Jonsrud Sundby. Ustiagov's been there or thereabouts in those he's competed in. The Norwegians have dominated, but 2 other names stick out. Harvey has generally done very well, and Maurice Magnificat has done well.
Yes, when Magnificat, he's not recognised as an outstanding classic skier, but when it comes to these skiathlons, he's so tenacious, he will not let go. He seems to bring another 40-45 seconds to his performance, as opposed to if this was a time trial.
Now, I've always felt that the skiathlon with the classic first favours the skaters, because everyone tends to take the first stage fairly steady, and that was the case in the women's race earlier on today. First couple of loops were very, very pedestrian, and then of course the pace picked up. We've got our first fall, and now it's one of the Russians. It's either Larkov. It is Larkov who's gone down. Ustiagov has survived, and some very nifty footwork from Syorota to go through.
25, another Russian down.
Well, we suggested this morning that there might be a few problems, and it's nearly always going to be on the first couple of loops. And there's another very, very quick downhill to negotiate as well. And that, I think, is why Sumbi went so hard at the start. You want to be in front of the trouble.
With today's race, the men's race, we saw the women's race earlier was very, very clogged up, and it's going to be even more so in the men's. I think we're going to see somewhat 35, 40 together, practically, at the halfway mark.
Well, there's a sharp downhill right-hand turn into the footbridge at the end of each lap, and that certainly is where we saw some drama in the women's. They all survived, but the men, they're moving that much quicker on the downhill, Mike. They tend to be more aggressive in their bunching, so we could see a few more falls. Now, let's have a look at this. Larkov, number 4, well, he just catches the outside edge. That was bad technique, but then it starts to cause the problems because everyone has got to change their line once they see Larkov going down. Hirvonen of Finland opts out, really, just sits on the back of the skis. Bottled it, I think, would be a fair statement.
I have to say, there's so much good reaction there. Roman Furger, the Swiss athlete, I don't know how he got round. They're travelling 65, 70 kilometres an hour at the base of that descent. That's got to hurt.
Yeah, and actually the mayhem later on is just caused by the fact that people are travelling at different speeds. Those who've come through cleanly are moving fast. Those who are just getting going again, obviously still going fairly slowly. Things have settled down, and that means they're bunching up again. So you'll be on the edge of your seats for the next downhill section, which is going to be just as quick. Lots of artificial snow here in Oberstdorf. It really is stunning in these conditions, Mike.
It's and really good conditions. The sun that's on the track early morning, no longer on the track, and it's fairly easy for the technicians to get this right.
I don't know if you picked out bib number 41, Pepen from Romania. We may not see him again, but he's just at the back of the leading group. He's had a fantastic start.
That's really good. It's good to see that. Financially, not one of these richer teams which has 10 waxing technicians. Hard to compete against that.
Well, here's the start, and it's pretty fast and furious as everyone wants to be in a decent position. 59 athletes in all. The poor man at the back, Indulis Bikse of Latvia. He's alongside Petter Knopp and Anton Lindblad of Sweden. And they've got absolutely no chance of working their way through to the front, I don't think, at any stage of this race.
Well, this is from the low point there to the high point, 34 meters of climbing in just, 250 meters. And they've got to do this, 8 times.
Deerhaug's made a good move, Mike, number 13. He's got right in behind Sundby. I think he can be fairly sure that Sundby will stay on his feet. Deerhaug's another of those that has done well in the skiathlon over the last couple of years. He actually finished second in Lillehammer last year. That was fairly early on in the season, but he was 44 seconds behind Sundby. However, if we go to Canmore, only 10 seconds separated the top 9 athletes. That's the sort of finish we could well have today.
I think so. Final time up this climb, this is clearly in my mind where the race is going to be won. It's who is going to be the strongest the last time up.
Alex Harvey's moustache reminds me of skiing in the 70s. Now,
good old 70s film.
we talked about ski. Who does it favour, the freestyle or the classic? I think we probably both agree that it slightly favours the freestyle skiers because that's where the business end of the race, as they call it. What about someone like Andy Musgrave? He's not that strong in the classic style compared to his freestyle. Is he going to be strong enough to hang on to the leaders and be in a position to challenge later on?
Well, he's improved so much. He put a huge part of his summer training into improving in his classic. Last year on this race, although it was 15-kilometre classic, he was a minute 43 behind. We saw him last week over 10 kilometres, only 17 seconds. I think he's got a real chance today, and I really believe in him for now and for the World Championships in this race.
Well, that was the second fastest bit of the course, and of course it leads into the stadium, so this is going to be the finish. You can see the sort of speeds they're travelling at in excess of 70 kilometres an hour. Now, the skis are only 4.5 centimetres wide. There's only a tiny bar at the front of the shoe that attached the boot to the ski. Their control is quite phenomenal. And actually, something that's really changed over the last 20 years, well, let's say since the World Championships were here in 1987, Mike, one, the solidity of the sole of the shoe. Now they use carbon to keep it nice and firm, and then the tracking of the binding is much more substantial.
It really is. Although, talking about the binding, when Larkov went down, I saw that the binding came off. He's had to pick up another ski, and I noticed him up the steep climb. He had very little grip on his left ski, which was a broken one, so he's going to suffer right now unless he gets another ski. But yes, so much has changed. The tracks have changed as well. They're much more crisp, and the preparation is much higher standard than, say, back in 1987 for the World Champs.
Now tell me, why is no one double poling?
Why is no one double poling at the moment? Well, this part of terrain...
Well, that's what why is no one opted to double pole rather than do classic?
No, that big climb, isn't it? 34 metres double pole rise up the steepest of climb. That's going to knock you back 15 seconds, 10 seconds.
But you don't have to change skis.
Well, there's a good... Well, you have to go into the pit stop and stop and then start again.
You could still save yourself 10 seconds, but you'd lose more than that.
There's a thing, and to remain with your shorter ski poles, it's not a great option. So you could go in and maybe swap your ski poles.
It's not something we've seen.
Deerhaug slipping badly.
One or two of them slipping. I think in Valmoster, one or two of them put too much clister on and have decided to go a little lighter on the wax. Again, the downhills on this course, Mike, are so fast that I'm not convinced there are massive differences with the waxing. It's when you have those long, slow downhills that those with good skis really get the benefit.
Yeah, I think you're right, absolutely right. Next time round, this is where the sprint is. Muzzy, there he is, slightly slipping up this rise. I think he has to stay within 30 seconds, Patrick, about the halfway, and then he's got a real chance if he's within that bracket.
Welcome back to Oberstdorf. The dominant nation in terms of skiathlons have made a move to the front, and alongside Sundby is Nicholas Deerhaug, who comes from Trondheim. He's won a 15k classic, I think, in Ruka. I think that's the only win he's had, but I know he was second in the skiathlon in Lillehammer in 2015, so he'll be fairly confident. And the pace has now slowed, Mike, as they set off. It's given Andrew Musgrave a chance to get within, what, 15-20 metres of the leaders?
It has. I'll tell you who I'm so impressed with is Finn-Hagen Krogh. He looked exhausted 2 days ago. He was 54 seconds behind over 10 kilometres. I thought he'd be spent today, but he's up the front. I hope he can last.
Well, we'll see. As you say, he looked really tired in the 10k in Valmoster. He comes from the very north of Norway, sandwiched between, what is it, Tromsø and Nordkapp. So he'll have, what, 3 months of the year where it's 24 hours of daylight?
What a beautiful...
And then in the winter, he's probably got an 8-month winter, so plenty of time for getting the training in.
Well, good job they've got night tracks up there, so he's obviously done a lot of mileage in his youth, or he was growing up in that area. Yeah,
maybe we'll have to start going up there so we find some real snow to race on. That would be a nice journey. Kirkenes, I know, just next to the Russian border. That's where Vegard Ulvang comes from.
There's still an awful lot of Norwegian suits up in that front 10. In fact, there's in the top 17 ranked today, all 8 of the Norwegians are in the top 17. It's an unbelievably strong nation.
The red suit in the mix is that of Alex Harvey, the Canadian colours. The two Russians are still there. It was Larkov earlier on. It's now Besmertnik who's moved into a decent position. He's wearing 21, and Ustiegov, the tour leader, there in what, 4th, 5th position at the moment. For Sweden, we've got Marcus Hellner. Now, Hellner's an interesting one, Mike. He's been saying in the press that he's feeling better with every race. A lot of the athletes didn't enjoy the altitude at Valmoster. Now, do you think it was a mistake for those teams that went home and trained at low altitude prior to that first stage?
I think it is. I think you want to spend after the Davos World Cup, for me, it's a wise thing to spend Christmas at altitude, and a number of teams did, and that's got to be beneficial. Ustiegov, 88%. This is going to climb up to 93%, I'm sure, by the top of this hill. He was only 83% of his maximum at the bottom of the hill.
Some of you may have spotted Dario Colonia. We haven't given him a name check as yet. He's in black, dressed in bib number 6 and looking pretty solid. So the big names from the past. It's not just about Norway. We've got Hellner for Sweden, Colonia, of course, for Switzerland, Ustiakov, who's the hot favourite to win today after what we've seen from him over the last 3 days. And if Ustiakov's in contention, Mike, at the start of the last lap, he's going to be incredibly difficult to shake off. And this may, in fact, be the hill that he tries to get away.
I think so. Everything we've seen from Ustiakov the last the 2 races in Valmuster, he's got the strength on the climbs. Nobody could touch him. But has he got any energy, or will he have any energy left on the 8th time up this climb? Of course, they'll be on the right-hand side of the hill as we look down on the skating tracks.
Well, 1 or 2 of the higher start numbers, the 57s. There's Anton Lindblad. He's gained a few places. I was just looking for those with bibs in the top 10 who dropped down the order, but I didn't see too many.
This hill, it's difficult. Luckily, it's spread out. It has to be, because it's too risky going side by side most of the way down that hill.
Sundby working really hard to get into the slipstream of Ustiakov. Well, and actually, I don't think Sundby wants the pace to slow too much, does he?
He doesn't, but this lap, remember, all the big names are coming floating to the front because there's the sprint bonuses this time round.
Yeah, lap number 3, 15 seconds for the winner. The top 10 all get bonus seconds, and then at the finish, well, in fact, they'll get bonus seconds at 3 laps, 6 laps, and of course the finish. But at the finish, only the top 3. Musgrave down to 21st position, but the time is what is important. He's only 6 or 7 seconds off the race leaders. I think what he's got to try and do, Mike, is when there's an opportunity to get closer to the lead without expending too much energy, take it.
Yes, if the pace at the front, it's not going to slow down this next kilometre, 2 kilometres because of these bonus sprints, but it will slow down after that, and that's when Muzzy has to try and close the gap, close the time deficit.
And actually, it may be an idea for Musgrave not to get involved in the sprint for those times, those bonus seconds.
You don't want these pace changes, really.
Yeah, if your quickest way to finish a distance race of 20k is a steady pace. It's not to put the sprints in, but the guys at the front, the guys who know that they have a chance of getting on the podium come the end of the Tour de Ski, they have to go for bonus seconds, and Sundby knows that better than most. Alex Harvey's well poised, lying 3rd in the Tour. He's lying 2nd in this race at the moment, and Ustiakov just biding his time. He's well positioned, Ustiakov. It's going to be interesting to see how hard he goes for the next climb.
Sundby just buying himself space if you're up the front. Of course, they've only got 600 metres to the sprint, the bonus sprints.
Daria Colonia drifting way out to the right. That's Andrew Musgrave. He goes for a parallel turn rather than a step turn. Not the quickest way round, but he's still pretty handy on a pair of alpine skis.
Well, the pace is really going electric now. They've only got 100 metres to go for the precious bonus seconds.
Harvey leading the way. Sundby on the far side. We've got Hellner of Sweden in 4th position at the moment. Ustiakov looks to be losing ground, Mike, or do you think he's just saying, I'll give this one a rest? He's dropped down outside the top 7 or 8. Magnificaz made a move, as he always does in the skiathlons. Iversen, Gaillard, Tonse, Ustiakov down in 9. And if he's not careful, he's going to be squeezed out of the bonus seconds altogether, but that might bode well either for the second round of bonus sprints on lap 6 or of course for the finish.
Yeah, and look at Larkov. He hasn't come back from that fall, from that bad ski. He really is out of touch at the moment. I think Ustiakov was completely spent there. He tried to sprint. I don't think his wax was working well. He tried, but he couldn't provide.
So Harvey picks up the bulk of the points, 15 seconds going his way. He started today 59 seconds off the lead. He's closed 13 or 14 points on Ustiakov. I didn't pick up on Ustiakov's position going through.
Ninth.
Now the pace slows, Mike. They have a drink. All those who weren't involved in the dash for the line,
there's Muzzy,
just catch up with the bunch, and actually their pulse rate has stayed at a constant level.
Well, Sundby, it was 18.9 seconds at the start of the day. Sundby is now effectively only 5 seconds behind Ustiakov.
Well, that's where the difference is, and if he wins the second sprint, he could put himself in front. Musgrave lying 8th, Kruger 9, Krog in 10th, Magnificaz moved up to 11th. Magnifica started the day in 16th position in the Tour. These are all the virtual Tour positions, as it says on your screen. Heikkinen there in 15th. Now, what about Heikkinen, Mike? We see the occasional flash of brilliance from him, usually over 15k. But actually, if we take the clock back to, I think it was 2013, he won a skiathlon of 20 kilometers here.
He did, and you know what? He's one of these athletes. He's good classic, and often quite good, rarely actually the best in freestyle. But when it comes to a skiathlon, he's so tenacious, he can hang on to the pace, and that's his strength in a race like today's race.
Do you put Magnifica in the same bracket, the sort of Jack Russell of cross-country skiing?
Terriers, absolute terriers. They don't let go on their, especially Magnificat, on his weaker skill, which is the classic.
Kruger leading for Norway. All to play for in the Tour de Ski here in Oberstdorf. Well, the pace has really slowed as they come round the top end of the stadium. 4 laps already completed. The transition from the classic technique to the skating about to take place, but they have to change the equipment. Skis and sticks will be changed. The boots will stay the same. Most of them doing both on full-on skating boots. There's Martin Jonsrud Sundby, who picked up 12-second bonus after the 3rd lap. Ustiakov, who dropped away from the pace. He'll be glad to get rid of those classic skis. I don't think they were working particularly well, Mike.
No, they weren't. They certainly weren't when he went for his bonus sprints 2.5 kilometers ago.
Just looking for Andrew Musgrave coming out of the traps just now, and Musgrave looked as though he was around position number 30, and having given away 16 seconds last time we got a split on him. Well, he's not in the top 28, so he hasn't really improved his position with the change of equipment. But Musgrave is still there or thereabouts. If the pace isn't quick over the first couple of freestyle legs, then he should be able to get himself back in touch. We will see. He's had a tremendous Tour de Ski already. The Brit lying in 7th position.
Well, just confirmation, just seeing that Muzzy is 30th, and you know what? He's only 17.3 seconds behind, and I think that's great news for Muzzy, as long as the pace isn't too fast, too soon in this next 10 kilometers, which is freestyle. He can hopefully pull some time back.
Well, I was going to say, Sundby always makes it look as though the post is steady, but he's such a brilliant technician.
It's brutal.
And he's like all the best in the world. They make things look easy. Heikkinen's moved into 2nd place. He's not missed a trick so far today. Heikkinen 33, the world champion over 15 kilometers classic in 2011, in front of the biggest crowds that cross-country has ever seen. I think the 50k claimed the prize for the largest crowd ever, didn't it, Mike, with Petter Northug putting on some sort of a show in Oslo back in 2011.
Oh, quite unbelievable. Some special days there, just rivers of people. They can't get enough of the cross-country. What
about Jens Berman? He's done well. Number 20, got himself right up with the leaders. His best is a 6th position. That came in Davos in a 30-kilometer freestyle. So we know that Berman can go the distance. There he is, sitting in 3rd place, ahead of Didrik Tunseth, and just behind him, Dario Colonia, who started to threaten in Valmoster on the 2nd day of action there, and he's looking sharper with every race. Don't rule him out of gold medals from Lahti this year. This, of course, is the World Championship year. So, Sundby leading, Heikkinen 2nd, Berman 3rd for Sweden, Tunseth of Norway 4, Colonia 5, number 24, is that, in fact that can't be 24, it might be 34, which is Florian Notz of Germany. He's a surprise inclusion in that leading group. Interesting to see that Ustiakov, Mike, having struggled on the fight for those bonus seconds, has got himself back within a couple of meters of the leaders.
Yes, he has. He's and that's good. That's good news. Fairly early on in this, only 28 minutes into the race to get back in contact is great news.
Well, all sorts of nasty coloured fluids being consumed in the drink stop. Most people going for isotonic drinks, Mike, just to get the vitamins in.
I think so. And it's not that cold now. It's only what, -2. I think you need fluid intake today. It's a vital part of this. What, an hour 10-minute race? In fact, less.
And of course the fluids aren't just about your performance this race, it's all about the recovery for tomorrow's race as well.
And look at the speed, 35, well, it's dropping now, so there's a huge speed maintained on most of this course, except this little bit coming up now, which is the steepest of climbs.
The Canadians will be happy that Alex Harvey's looking comfortable sitting up there, just a few metres adrift of the race leaders. And who else have we got in there? Devon Kershaw of Canada is also having a good run. Number 11, that's Thomas Bing, who surprised us with a PB in Val Mustère. Here's the change of equipment. Same boots as we mentioned, but the poles and the skis now both change.
It's Thomas Bing, and he is up front now in the top 15, which is only 1.7 seconds off the lead.
Keep an eye out for bib number 7. That, of course, is Great Britain's Andrew Musgrave. A predominantly white suit, the British suit. People are getting more and more familiar with it as we see him in competitive positions.
No, I didn't see him up this climb. Hopefully we'll see him later.
Yeah, he's in that second group, actually, Mike, about still around 15-16 seconds behind the race leaders.
Well, he just needs to keep believing that the pace is going to calm down a little, that he can close this gap.
Well, Sumbi doesn't look to be pushing too hard. 30:27 on the clock. There will be another bonus sprint on lap number 6. This, of course, is lap number 5. So next time round, it's going to go ballistic. And by that time, those in the back of this group have got to get closer to the leaders. Otherwise, they're going to be out of it.
There's Muzzy. That's not bad at all. He's pulled back, what, some 4 or 5 seconds?
Skiing with Martin Jaks of the Czech Republic, who's had success. He's had an incredibly long career, Martin Jaks.
He has. Was a very good junior as well, so it's an even longer career. Cologne up into 6th place, and today, in fact, when you look at the history, 36 of these skiathlons at World Cup level, Cologne is one of only 4 to have won 4. The other is Nortug, Vito, and Heikkinen as well. So Heikkinen has always had a little flair for these races.
Vincent Vito, best Frenchman ever on the Tour? Or do you think Magnificat has surpassed him?
Maybe Magnificat has now. But no, Vito. Let's go Vito. To win 4 of these in his career is quite outstanding.
Surprised you didn't vote for Martin Fourcade. Certainly the best biathlete France have ever had. I think even Raphael Poiret would accept that.
He's gone the wrong way.
Sumbi has gone the wrong way. Now what he's got to do...
Oh, he needs to...
He's got to go back to where he left the track.
That should be okay.
More than 2 metres away from the race course, Mike. I don't think it matters, provided you go back on the point you came off, which is exactly what Sumbi did. So now the favourite for the Tour de Ski, and of course the World Cup leader, has got some work to do. It's not what he wanted, it's certainly what the scriptwriters wanted, because it makes a much more exciting race. And Ustiakov will be...
Yes.
Delighted with that. 1 or 2 others went wrong.
I wonder now, through his mind, he's going to be so annoyed, so angry with himself for not being a little bit more concentrated on the task at hand. If you don't know where you're going, not a good way.
And when you know, or it's highly likely that you're going to have a lead. Now, here we go for the bonus sprint. And Ustiakov has been handed 15-second bonus. Cologne gets in there. Harvey gets another good quota of points. Magnificat, Tonseth, Gaillard, names we always see. To Fabiani, now that's not such a familiar name. He's had a really good run so far to Fabiani for Italy. And the 23-year-old from Aosta has only had 1 win in his career. He's in a good position. Muzzy coming up as he goes through. He's only some 15 seconds, so he has closed the gap a little, Mike. But Ustiakov, my goodness, he snatched an opportunity there.
He did, and Sumbi, if you're going to take the wrong turning, it was the absolute wrong part of the race to do that. He's lost all these bonus seconds.
Sumbi working hard to get back in touch. Ustiakov leading. So a second drink. Dario Cologne taking on as much as he can. Usually 2 small mouthfuls is enough. Any more than that and you start to feel it. The virtual tour standing, Sumbi in second, Harvey third. No change in the top 3. Krog is 4. But actually just hearing that Krog has pulled out, Mike.
Well,
Valius, Ferger, Tritcher.
That's interesting because Krog, he tried to stay with it. He's such a tenacious, such a fighter. A little, well, Rottweiler, but he's run out of steam.
Well, the pace is slowing. The pace is certainly slowing, and that might well have been the effect of that increased pace for the bonus seconds. Ustiakov will be delighted. Now, we said at the very start of this race, Mike, if he's in contention at the start of the last lap, he's going to be so tough to beat. His hill climbing is good. His downhill work has been fantastic.
It certainly has, and the turn of pace that he showed there, he is alive and kicking in this race. He struggled a little in the classic, and now it's the freestyle, but Ustiakov has slowed it down considerably. He's just resting up, but still dictating.
Marcus Hellner's one who's taken advantage of that, number 8, the Swede, who's had some good seasons. He was in the top 3 of the World Cup rankings in 2010. He was 4th in 2012, slipped to 30th last year. But of course, he is the silver medalist from the Olympic Games in this discipline. The gold medalist, of course, from Sochi, Dario Colonia, and there he is, lying in 3rd position at the moment, looking really comfortable. The only question mark we had over Colonia in Valmister, Mike, was the last lap. He didn't seem to have the power that the others had.
No, he didn't. I think he's getting better and better. When someone of Colonia's stature improves in his sprinting, that's a great indicator of his form. He wasn't even making the top 30 at the first 3 World Cups.
Any sign of Sundby?
Sundby, yes, he's hauling his way back up. That bib number 2 is not going to let them go. He's back in the mix.
Musgrave still 20 metres adrift of the leaders. When they come through the stadium next time, which should be just over a minute and a half's time, it's going to be the 15-kilometre marker, so that will leave us with 5,000 metres.
That was Bersmetnik, that was his pulse rate there, 191 beats per minute, and he's not at the top of the hill yet. He'll be over 200. There's Muzzy, bib number 7, looking for me, composed. He's slowly hauling them back.
Colonia looking fantastic, and he opens up a little bit of a gap on this climb. Now, is he going to be able to capitalise? Watch the clock. 1, 2, 3, 3.5 seconds clear of Magnificat. Ustiakov at 4.5, I think, suffering a little after that massive effort to get the 15-second bonuses on earlier on in this lap. Musgrave goes through, and Muzzy, who was down in 30th position, going through the halfway point, has got himself into the top 25, so he's moving up, but more importantly, he's getting closer to the leaders. But is this a decisive break from Colonia?
Could well be. Now, he reacts well to altitude. He lives in Davos. He's been in Davos over Christmas. He raced well in Valmister, his home village, and he's still in great form. In other athletes, it has a negative effect. You maybe race well at altitude, but you don't adapt as quickly when you come down to 700 metres here.
Are they going to let Dario Colonia go? They know how dangerous he can be. He's the Olympic champion, and well, in Sochi he was on tremendous form, and that was after an incredibly bad ankle injury. It was one of the most remarkable recoveries from injury we've ever seen. Harvey's there in 11th, Iversen 13, Heikkinen dropping down to 20th position, having challenged in the early phase on the classic stage of this race.
I'm just thinking, Patrick, that wrong turning 1 lap ago, which Sundby made, he's now 36 behind in real terms. Well, there's Finn Hagen. He tried to stay with it. That is a man spent. When he pulls out of a race, he's not feeling very good at all.
So his tour is over. He'll make his way back to the stadium. Sundby 5.4 behind when they went through the stadium, Mike, and now he's closed that to about 54 centimetres behind second place. And I wonder whether Sundby's going to be the man who does the hard work in catching Dario Colonia.
I think he has to be, because he didn't pick up any bonus seconds, which in real terms has him down 36 seconds behind Ustiakov in Tour de Ski time overall.
37 minutes 16 seconds for 15 kilometres, and remember they had what, a 10-15 minute break to change their equipment halfway through, so around 37 minutes for 15 Ks. That is quick. They've still got some 4,000 metres to go.
I think I was looking at the 15 kilometre from 1987. I hope I've got it right, it was about 42 minutes.
Well, Musgrave, Mike, has moved up the order. I've got him now at around 7-8 seconds off the race lead, maybe a fraction more than that. But he's taken advantage
He's back there. There's still what, 22, 25 to 30 even in this top group, and then a big separation.
Are you surprised to see Dario Colonia not try and capitalise on that lead, or do you think 5k to go was too far out?
I think he was putting a little feeler. He certainly had the power up the big climb, and nobody reacted at that point. He was just feeling what can I do? How can I break this field?
Well, my feeling is he's not going to win this with a sprint. Colonia has got to go early if he wants to win.
I think first man over that top last time round. Is that where the race is going to be won? Not entirely, but you set yourself up for a podium if you're over there first.
Well, the pace is dropping. It's Hellner who leads at the moment, and they're all poised for a big burst. This is good news for Sundby, who's had to work hard to get back in touch with the race leaders. The longer he gets to recover, the better, but he'll be watching out for the man behind him. Ustiakov is actually in a very good position, because if Sundby goes left, he can go right. He can get as far away from the Norwegian as possible on that final big climb.
So true. It's so, for me, very happy to see Devon Kershaw, the complete red suit, in the middle of this picture here. That's Harvey, who's the first Canadian all red, and then Devon is back up with the action. It's Harvey. Well, it slowed down a little. Everybody just getting a breather after all the stress and the little sprints.
Well, I wonder whether those who don't have a sprint will decide that the penultimate time up that big climb, which would be on this lap, is the time to go. If that's the case, over the next 30 seconds or so, the pace is going to be wound up to something ferocious. 4,000 metres under to go now, and of course one full lap and just the end of this one, but the big climb still to come. Sundby, who took a wrong turn after the change of equipment, has got himself back to the front of the field. Colonia's not going to let him go. Hellner is there. This is like a blast from the past, Mike, with all the big names there, and Ustiakov watching every single move that is made. Good news for Great Britain. Musgrave's got himself in that leading group, I think I'm right in saying.
Yeah, you are.
And there's Finnhagen Krogh, who withdrew about 10 minutes ago from the race and ultimately from the Tour. The man is spent, and I wonder whether that's the effect of the racing at altitude in Valmostad.
Well, remember the effort he put in to get his third position in the sprint competition. That takes so much out of you if you've had any little cold or anything recently, and he didn't race well the day after that, and he really didn't go today.
Well, you mentioned Devon Kershaw. He's there's Musgrave right in the middle of the group, still looking good. He needs to get a little closer to the front if he's going to challenge. A top 10 would be a fabulous result. A podium would be unbelievable for Musgrave, but that is going to be a tall order with so many of the world's best up the front of the field here. Sundby again leading up the hill. No move from Colonia this time. I thought we might see something from him as one of those who's unlikely to win a sprint. 42.19 on the clock. No bonus seconds this time round. And there goes Musgrave on the outside. That's a positive move.
That's a real positive move. He's only 5 seconds behind. He likes hill climbing. He's very, very strong in hill climbing.
Look at the margins that you open up by going over the top of the hill first, Mike.
And that's what they're feeling. That's what Sundby wanted to feel. That's what Colonia wants to feel. I think that was Hellner in third. The German team hasn't started so well for them, except for Bing, but they're inspired, racing on their home snow this time today.
Left and right, and then over the road bridge. Now they drop down into the stadium. A sweeping left-hand turn draws them up alongside the finishing straight. They will go through there in 2.5 kilometers time. Sundby will be thinking about his tactics. How does he beat the Russian Ustiakov? Can he possibly get back into the red bib as the Tour leader? I think that's unlikely, because Ustiakov took full advantage of Sundby's mistake and claimed those 15 seconds on the second of the bonus points. So that was a good move from him.
I must say that this time just gone up the steep hill, Ustiakov wasn't pushing. He was holding something back, knowing full well that the important time to sprint up that hill is the last time, the next time round. 3
big climbs to come, Mike. The first, in fact, the last one is the biggest of all, but the first one is fairly severe as they work their way out of the stadium. Are we going to see a move on either of those? Can they hold a break all the way through to the final climb, or do you think they're all just waiting for that big final attempt.
Well, I think those at the front, their brains will be computing. There's still too many in the mix, so I think they're going to try and turn this into single file even more so to lessen their possibilities of breaking ski poles. We saw that in the women's race.
Well,
there's just too many in the mix here, so I think it's going to go fast very soon.
Sundby, second in the Tour, wearing bib number 2. Cologne trying to improve his position. He started today 1 minute 10 off the pace of Ustiakov, the Tour leader. Don't forget that Cologne has taken world and Olympic titles in this discipline. He knows how to win this sort of a race, but where is he going to make his move? Sundby still has the whereabouts to look around, check who's there. Has he got any of his own teammates with him? And where is Ustiakov? That's what he wants to know. And the answer is he's about 7th or 8th at the moment.
Magnificat was coming up so strong on that last climb, but he didn't quite have space. He couldn't close the whole gap. Yeah,
Magnificat, he's a good finisher as well, the Frenchman. He was only 10 seconds off the win in Canmore in the last of the World Cup skiathlon events. That was over the full distance. Normally it's 15 plus 15. Today, just 10 plus 10, which will seem plenty for these guys.
That's quite amazing. Sundby's speed along the flat there, 29 kilometers an hour. That is fine skiing.
Sundby, Cologne, Hellner. Just behind him is Jean-Marc Gaillard, who hasn't really featured much today, but he's well positioned now and ahead of Alex Harvey. Pulse rate nearing maximum, even on the flatter sections, and then there's going to be an almighty amount of pain as they go up the big climb towards the end of this race. Sundby so smooth on the ski. His balance is impeccable, Mike. We used to talk about now we've got a faller. It's that one of the Norwegians. I think it may be hiding behind the trees. It's not Sundby, we know that. Number 12, that is Sjørote, who's a brilliant skiathlon athlete, but he's blown his chance, I think, of taking the win.
Well, this is the calm before the storm, and look who's just climbing further up to make contact. Ustiakov, or at least he's trying to. And an athlete we haven't mentioned much, Jean-Marc Gaillard, just getting into the mix in the top 8. In fact, he's dropped back to 10th now.
Gaillard, who comes from the Haute-Savoie, an area that's produced more alpine skiers than cross-country, but...
I thought you were going to say more wine.
I wouldn't know. Well, look at him. He's got himself in a very good position, and he's had the cheek to take on Sundby, who's been trying to be the control master around here today. He's had to work hard to do that, and we're going to find out whether that mistake has cost him in terms of energy, Mike. It must have taken a fair effort to get himself back into the front.
Yes, it must have. A lot of energy. There's Magnificat now saying, I'm the boss.
So France leading Norway ahead of Switzerland, and then we've got Canada and Sweden there as well. And still, Musgrave is hanging on for Great Britain. Shavotkin of Russia at the back of that group. I think he's still some 15 seconds off the race leader. Maurice Magnificat now makes a move. What a tremendous effort from him. 6 wins in his career. Can he make it 7 today? There's a move from Sundby, and he turns it up in the space of a couple of meters. Cologne tries to go with him. Magnificat grimacing, can't stay with it. Harvey still hanging in there, but losing 1, 2, 3 meters. And this is always going to be the crucial part of the course.
Ustiakov got himself trapped, but he's had to go wide, and he's just using that perfect tempo.
Well, Sundby sees Ustiakov. He knows Cologne's just behind him, and Ustiakov has defended his lead so far in the Tour de Ski. In fact, Ustiakov with 3 more bonus seconds so far than Sundby. If Sundby can get the win here and Ustiakov finishes in 3rd, then Sundby pulls back 10 seconds. But he started today 18.9 behind.
Well, for me, it's Ustiakov and Cologne, or has Sundby got enough lead over this last rise?
Well, they break left, just 200 meters to go. You can see the finishing straight. Crucial, the final turn. Now Ustiakov winds it up. Sundby, who's not an out-and-out sprinter. Ustiakov, we know, won the first sprint of the Tour, and it's Ustiakov who's looking to make it 1, 2, and 3 in a row, and that would certainly cement his lead in the Tour de Ski. Sundby 2nd, Cologne 3rd. Who can stop Ustiakov this year? 48.40 the time. He said he was really disappointed that his teammates were banned from the Tour de Ski. He said he thought it was unfair. I don't think he'll find many people who agree with that opinion, but my goodness, he's made an impression on the Tour this year.
It's as if he's got something to prove, isn't it? He turned up at some incredible pace on that climb. He was trapped, he went wide and got to the front.
Musgrave down in 19th position, only 14 seconds behind, so he's still going to be fairly close to the race leaders. But Ustiakov is in some staggering shape at the moment.
Now, I saw Hellner, having a word with Ustiakov there, as if saying, listen, whatever happened, I didn't see it. It looked like they're having a small discussion.
Alex Harvey looks happy with his race. We'll try and pick up on his position. We'll get the rundown. Now look at the sprint from Ustiakov. We did say if he's there or thereabouts at the start of the last lap, the favourite has to be this man. He's certainly lived up to his reputation. Devastating speed over the last 150. Sumbi couldn't live with it. Colonia, great race from Colonia, best we've seen from him so far this season. He's getting closer and closer to the front. He just needs to get to the stage, so he's brave enough to go with about 4Ks remaining in the race. Sumbi will be wondering what he's got to do to get a win. 1/4, 2 seconds. And quite a margin now between himself and Ustiakov in the Tour standings. Well, Mike, 3 names that you might well have put on the podium at the start of the race. Ustiakov, I think, started as favourite. He's proved that to be right. Sundby, he likes to win. This time last year, he was leading the Tour by, what, a minute and a half, and went on to win the Tour. The last 2 seasons, the man who's led after the 3rd stage has gone on to win. Northug, of course, didn't win initially, but then when Sumbi was disqualified, Northug moved into the top spot.
And you could see Sumbi crossing the line. He's a little shake of his head. What do I have to do to beat this man? He's asking himself a lot of questions now.
Well, it's mighty difficult to make predictions as to what the margin might be in the Tour. But Ustiakov will have picked up, what, 8 more bonus seconds than Sumbi today. He was only 0.7 ahead, so it should be a margin of something like 26 or 24, 25 seconds. Let's go for that as a prediction, the margin between 1st and 2nd in the Tour de Ski. Giorgio De Centa, never saw him out the back early on, 2 minutes 5 behind.
Muzzy, I don't know if we mentioned, just so excited about watching him racing. He had 19th position, only 14.9 behind.
19th, having been 30th after the first phase. The Classic, the only man to pull out was Finn Hagen Krogh of Norway. We saw that, and hopefully we'll get an explanation before tomorrow's races. Now, here are the standings in the Tour. 29 seconds. We weren't far out, but still not accurate enough. Ustiakov, Sundby, Harvey, the top 3. They stay as they were yesterday. Dario Colonia is the man who's made a move, and Musgrave on that first sheet, so well positioned in the top 10 after today's effort. Gaillard, Heikkinen, Bing, Deerhaug, we would have expected something more from him. Was it Deerhaug who took a tumble? I think it was.
Well, he lost it. Just noticing Deerhaug, he was penalised for an obstruction. He got in the way in the 2nd sprint. He lost all his bonus seconds, so that's knocked him back.
Len Valius of Canada couldn't live with the pace set by his teammate Alex Harvey today. And Devon Kershaw, incidentally, finishing in 20th place. But it's Sergei Ustiakov of Russia who wins for the 3rd time in a row.